guys, so today we're going to be driving two of the best Porsche 911s ever made. One of them is the one I'm driving right now, which is the more modern 991.2 GT3 manual. And the other is the one I'm driving now, the 997.2 GT3 RS. Guys, controversial opinion, but I think we have just passed the peak of the Porsche 911. And the peak, I think, really hit us with the 997 and then the 991. I think after that, we started getting a bit of a heavier car, a fatter car, something that kind of complies with modern needs and what people are looking for nowadays a little bit more than just the driver excitement of a car. The 2010s were a pretty crucial part in kind of car development and where we are today, because the beginning of the 2010s, you still had raw cars like this. It's a 2011 GT3 RS. It felt like a raw car, a hard car to drive, just all about the feel. Towards slowly started transitioning to the 991.2 and the 991 obviously and all that, where the cars just became a little easier to drive, very well performing, but they're still somewhat driver friendly. They're still fun to drive, still engaging. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. But then around 2020, 992s came out, and it's slowly starting to get to a point where so many cars just feel exactly the same. They're just trying to see, you know, what's getting better track times, what's faster. Like, they're not really paying attention to that. So now today we are going to look at the two best 911s from the best era and which part of that era is the best. So let's start. We're driving the 997. Immediately you press the clutch and it's so freaking heavy. It's nothing like a 991.2 clutch. Last night I actually drove a 991.2 touring and then went into this, and immediately clutching in with this was so weird. The shifter is a little more clunky. You got to put a little bit more work into getting the car into gear, but once you get it, it's so rewarding. And you can press the sport button right here and the exhaust opens up a little bit, and then you push and the valves sound so freaking good. This car is just such a raw feeling, so driver involved, just makes you very satisfied with the drive. But it is very difficult, and I'm not gonna lie, after a stretch of maybe like an hour or 2 hours of driving this car, you kind of want to take a break. Now, obviously, being the last manual RS and being like the last raw 911, it would have been very hard to live up to it. And honestly, I think when the 991 came out, people were just like, okay, this car does not live up to it. It's not the same thing. Because I think most people compared the RS, but I think the true successor to this car is just a regular GT3. The RS doesn't come in manual anymore. The RS is not about driver involvement. It's the PDKs. It's not the same thing. But that regular GT3, anybody in the market for a car like that, I would recommend a regular 991.2 GT3 over an RS any day. And that's because that car might be as driver involved as this. Now we're in the 991.2, the 2018 GT3. I gotta give you a heads up though, we drove this car in the last video, and if you remember, this car does have a full IP exhaust wet headers, so the noise is probably going to excite me a little bit more than the car, but I'm going to try to kind of stay on topic of just how the car drives as a whole and compare it to the 997, which is stock. So first thing you notice is everything's a lot lighter. The steering's a lot lighter, shifter is so easy. This car even has auto rev match, which makes it a lot easier to use. So if this car has lighter steering, a lighter clutch, auto rev match, now how is it that I'm kind of saying that it's as good as the 997 GT3 RS, or, you know, on that same level, and insanely better than the new ones, the 992s, which kind of people complain about the same thing? So the reason for that is the clutch, even though it's kind of light, but it has a feel, it has a biting point that you can clearly tell. The gearbox is like a notchy gearbox still. Everything is still a little bit analog. Now, I say a little bit analog, but realistically it's very computerized, not that far off of the 992. But the difference is here they hide it a lot better. And that is because you still get the analog clusters, you still get a smaller screen. Like, the interior is still the old style interior of the Porsches, rather than putting everything digital. The other thing that I found is the 992 feels very big, because it is very big. But when you sit in a 992, it really feels like you're sitting deep inside of a 992. This is more like you're part of the car. You're not too like in it, you're not too on it. It feels just right. This is like the perfect driving dynamics, the perfect everything for a car for you to enjoy but not really struggle. So now we're on the highway in the 991.2 GT3, and I know I said we're gonna forget about the exhaust, but let's just not forget about it for 1 second. Let's downshift once, Let's downshift again. That is not bad. So yeah, this car overall feels a lot tighter, but it is a lot easier to drive, which is a little bit less satisfying. But, you know, I feel like they're two cars for different needs, and you could definitely own both of them and be happy with owning both of them. So in conclusion, I'd say if I wanted a car to drive more often and almost every day, but just have a